Her first international appearance for the year. It is Paula Thompson, one of the veterans in the Jamaican side, to get us underway. Probably the most impressive of the tourists in the 2 tests so far. And already they're a little hesitant to move it forward. Nicole Aitken getting involved at goal defence. Of course, the older sister of Romelda Aitken on cue. That was the target. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it in there.
Romelda Aitken put on a pretty good hold then, I felt. She really shown where the space was. Just the delivery, not so good.
So Gerard to Nurse to McMahon. Backtracks. Nurse and McMahon team up again. Just the start she needs to boost the confidence levels.
Already you see the speed of Sherelle McMahon. It's important, though, you're playing at this level, it's not just the speed. You can't just run fast anywhere you like. It's your timing. And if you just watch Sherelle McMahon, she's so good in her timing. She knows when to go, knows when to hold, and then when to put the accelerator on.
I think there'd be some nerves there still. This is her 106th appearance, but hasn't played in the green and gold for some time.
Of course there's nerves. There's nerves almost every single time you step out to play for Australia. A little bit more so now. I read in the paper that Norma Plummer has said that Sherelle still needs to get out and perform well to gain selection. So she knows that her spot in this team isn't safe. And the problem for her is that Susan Prattley and Nat Medhurst have both played beautiful games at goal attack in the first and second test. So she's got her work cut out for her.
Well, she made a statement earlier on, didn't she, by dropping Bianca Chatfield from the squad. So it just goes to show that the 12 girls will be picked on form and form alone. As Green moves to Medhurst and Nurse. Oh, blistering pass, split the defenders.
And Nat Medhurst and Sherelle McMahon haven't had a lot of game time together in any form at any level. Yet the first few phases of this game, they look like they've played together for a long time. What they're both doing very well early is as soon as they get the ball, they're looking for each other, looking for a direct path to the post. The
shorter, quicker option under the circle. How do you think this will fare?
Really well. It's difficult to defend because there is just so much movement. But you've got to be clever in your movement, and both McMahon and Medhurst are really smart in the way they go about things. Just looking out for each other, creating space for each other. And it's just that speed is really a bonus.
Well, this has been a wonderful start by the Australians. Sherelle McMahon is 3 from 3 and Nat Medhurst is 2 from 2. And they are quick out the blocks.
Well, the Australians started so well in that first match, last week's match on Wednesday night, that the Jamaicans need to start to put some score on the board now. They don't want to get blown out of this game early. They've got to stay in it by scoring a couple more times in this first 5 minutes.
We saw in the opening quarter in the first test in Melbourne, it was 12-9, so really low scoring. And Romelda Aitken really started well on that occasion. And there's the opener for her.
There's a better movement to the circle from the Jamaicans. Much easier to feed someone with the height of Romelda Aitken when you do it from the edge of the circle rather than out near the transverse line.
The speed of ball movement already is super impressive from the Diamonds.
We've talked already about the speed of McMahon and Medhurst. They're also being serviced by Kim Green, who is an extraordinarily quick athlete, really powerful. So probably in this first 5 minutes, the Sunshine Girls defence line just have their heads spinning.
They certainly do. We're seeing the 2 different tactics as well. Romelda Aitken under one post, 196 centimetres. And McMahon and Medhurst under the other post. Probably, Liz, if you added up their height, it probably wouldn't make 196.
Well, we are seeing 2 completely different styles of play, and it's just something a little bit monotonous. The Jamaicans need to start to tighten up, because at the moment it's all Medhurst onto McMahon or McMahon onto Medhurst. They're looking and finding each other beautifully.
They're hesitant, the visitors. Pass going back to Aitken, and then they turn it over, and here go the Diamonds again. Hallinan getting involved.
Obstruction.
Green looking to dish it off. For 4 from 4, her first miss for the captain. And they got the offensive rebound.
It's better work defensively than from Sasha Gay Lynch, just on that baseline. Really held McMahon in her movement. And it almost forced an error from the Aussies, and that's what has to happen. That baseline is where McMahon is so lethal. They've got to close that down.
And they're pressing forward once again. And, well, great defensive skills there by Sasha Gay Lynch.
Yeah, I think she was unlucky then. Came around the body, did everything right.
One step forward, goalkeeper.
Potentially a little bit late on the challenge, but other than that, thought it was good.
And another goal for the Aussies. There will be one person that will be very impressed with this start, and that was their coach, Norma Plummer, who's been good enough to join us. And Norma, how much of a boost to have your captain back in the side?
Yeah, it's fantastic, and just at the moment her timing's superb, so that's what we were looking for, to get the speed going in the attack end with her and Nat Medhurst. They're a similar style player, actually. You often get mixed up with them on the court, but just their presence and their drives, they open up the circle beautifully.
Norma, we've talked a little bit about the speed. How much do you have to remind these girls to sometimes slow it down and reset?
Well, we've talked a lot about that. That's identifying change and when you have to change up your game. You can't go flat out and stop all the time. There'll be times you have to adjust your whole game. And certainly, you know, that's why the zone is thrown on often, to try and slow that speed up. But then there's other ways you can combat that. You only have to keep possession.
It's been a dream start, Norma. Do you anticipate making changes at some point throughout the match?
Well, we'll see how it goes. I don't like to predict, but, you know, when the opportunities arise, we give it.
All right, we'll wait with anticipation. Thanks for your time,
Thank
Norma. And a much-needed goal from Romelda Aitken for the Jamaicans. This lead has blown out quite significantly to 7 goals. Jamaicans rattled, dazed and confused. A call going against Australia.
They are a little bit, Kel, but I will say just that defensive work then from Lynch and Aitken, they've just started to figure out the rotational work that Medhurst and McMahon are putting on, and they're starting to just slow the Australians up a little bit. And sometimes in defence, that's all you have to do.
Yeah, this is Lynch, had the ball in her hands going head-to-head with McMahon, just 19 years of age, so a big moment for her.
It is, and I'm not giving away too much because you can read in the media guide. Sherelle McMahon was 33 during the week, so perhaps, you know, sometimes when you're an older player and you're playing against someone significantly younger than you have it in your head that you'd like to teach them a little lesson, so that may happen today.
Just the 14 years difference in age there. I'm sure Sherelle is really pleased that we're pointing that out. And doesn't just want to put in a big performance to book her ticket to India, but perhaps celebrate the birthday in style as well.
We're talking about a young...
Good deflection there by the Jamaicans, and do they keep it in play? Not quite.
This is more the Jamaican flair that we're used to seeing, and I feel that's been missing in the first 2 tests.
Goal defence, contact, pass.
Yeah, it was the deflection off the hands of Taylor. Medhurst yet to miss.
That was beautiful work then from Geitz. And while we're talking about young Jamaican goalkeeper, the young Australian goalkeeper, who I reckon is pretty close to getting on the plane to Delhi. She had a great first up test in Melbourne. She's backing it up today.
Yeah, the Queenslander playing in front of her home crowd, so no doubt plenty of support for her. Let's go courtside, Vicky.
Well, the Australians have been very impressive with their down court attack. They've really had that connection working all the way down court, and their flow is just awesome. In the defensive line, I'm really impressed with the way Gerard and Laura Geitz are really mixing up what they're doing in that circle, and they're creating a few problems for the Jamaicans.
Thanks for that, Vicky. Aitken 4 from 4, and her partner in crime is Vanessa Walker, just 1 from 2. So they certainly really use the one option, don't they, Liz?
Yeah, they do. And I guess the thing that is a little bit worrying for Connie Francis, the Jamaican coach, is that almost when the first 2 tests, the starting goal attack was a little bit disappointing in the first half. Whichever goal attack she brought on in the second half was brilliant. So Griffith was brought on in the second half in the first test, absolutely outstanding, got the start in the second, and we really didn't see much of it, just shot 2 from 5. Walker, not so good in the first test, great in the second test.
So no doubt the Jamaicans will make quite a few changes throughout the game as well. Call against Geitz. Of course, Aitken and Geitz are teammates during the regular season. They play for the Queensland Firebirds, so it must feel like a bit of a training session for them at times. Good friends off the court.
With a lot less love.
McMahon back to Gerard. Green. Good double play. Now Nurse, the bounce pass. And McMahon on the sidelines. Just tried unselfishly to give it off to Medhurst then.
I thought McMahon was well and truly in shooting position then. I'd like to see her continue to go to the post.
Obstruction, goal attack, penalty.
just watch the Australians down court and just watch their hands over defence. It's been so impressive all the way through this series. The moment someone gets the ball from the Sunshine Girls, they've got a set of Australian hands up at 3 feet. And often it's not the defender that gets the tip, but the hands over pressure creates the intercept in the next passage of play.
And the relentless pressure has a flow-on effect, doesn't it? Because the Jamaicans are really hesitant trying to bring it up the court. And as a result, a turnover.
Yeah, that turnover, even though the Australian defence line will come up with it, was created by the defensive pressure from the attacking line.
Chain of quick passes.
Holding goal defence, pass or shot. Advantage offside.
Good feed into McMahon.
Like all good shooters, fixes her hair before she takes the shot.
I did want to ask you, we've had the player of the match was a shooter in the first test. The player of the match was a shooter in the second test, Liz. Clearly you're not voting on it.
Got no say in it at all. Hard to argue with both choices, though. I thought Kath Cox was outstanding in the first test and Susan Prattley just as good in the second, so I can't find a reason to argue with it.
And the long bomb comes into Aitken, and the long shot is offline. So a couple of early misses from Romelda. And the Aussies are away again. Gerard looking for Nurse. Oh, great aerial leap there by Taylor. Couldn't quite pull it in, though. That's a fierce bounce pass to Green. I think it might have been meant for McMahon. Ended up in her hands. And now Medhurst, who is yet to miss, makes it 9 from 9. Didn't miss a goal in her first 3 appearances for Australia.
Advantage, deliberate wing defence.
She's in a real fight, Natalie Medhurst,
Jamaica.
to get her name on the team sheet for India. No doubt about that. Taylor looking to give it off to Lynch. Can she keep it in play? No, she can't.
That's it.
Smart play there from Nat Medhurst, deciding to take the throw-in. She was the closest to it. Like it when teams do that, just get on with the game.
Advantage, contact, wing defence.
So Nurse, Green, McMahon. And goes to the post.
Just want to show you just a replay. Just watch this angle. Beautiful pass there from Nurse, and that's what the Australian team is doing so well at the moment, just using the triangles with the 2 feeders on the outside. Just opens up the shooters beautifully. They've done it a lot through the series, and just keep your eye out in the attacking play. It's something that they do well.
I mentioned the relentless pressure. It results in another turnover. That was a held ball against Thompson. Now Hallinan. They've really got their tails up the Diamonds. Looking unstoppable at the moment. And Medhurst just drops another. It's the perfect 10. And the lead's out to 11. That's just too easy. Medhurst into McMahon. First 2 tests, the Aussies have really taken a while to gel. But you get the feeling in this opening quarter, it's really starting to click.
Certainly is. In the first test, I guess they were a little bit nervous in their opening. We didn't really see them release the ball. Geitz having a little look outside the circle. Love it when a goalkeeper has a little bit of a terrorising go at a poor little wing attack.
She does it again. She's all over it. Gerard, Green, the transition is just killing the Jamaicans at the moment.
Well, the Holden player of the match gets announced at the end of each game, and I've been told by a reliable source that the prize is a Louis Vuitton bag, so I reckon a few of the girls like that accessory. Laura Geitz in particular thinks it might be okay.
No texting them during the match, Liz. We'll see them not just playing for a flight to India in October, but also a Louis Vuitton bag.
Well, accessories.
They'll be looking the goods. Geitz again. She knows. She heard you. Hallinan, Gerard. Oh, that is just a blistering bullet-like pass. Beautiful to watch.
This is one of the best openings in a quarter I've seen by the Australian team. It's just superb. Their passing is beautiful. Defensively, they're doing everything right.
On the ball, goal defence, contact, pass or shot.
Sunshine Girls got their heads spinning at the moment.
Both out.
They're in all sorts of trouble, aren't they? I just wonder what the coach, Connie Francis, must be thinking. We'll have a chat to her early stages of the second quarter. The Australians are in for the quick kill here in the Gold Coast.
Just just watch that work. It's just all the way down the middle corridor of the court. The players aren't setting up in the middle. They're a little bit offset onto the side, but you're looking to move into the middle, and that's where you dominate a game from.
Green read it well. Medhurst, lob pass. McMahon, goal. And the leaders blown out to 17 goals. Quite remarkable. And the timeout, no surprises there, has been called.
Sure, you keep Aitken out of the game. So she's just asking her to think about things. If Aitken starts coming to the game, then Geitz has to sit back on her. But at the moment, Geitz is really well and truly able to get out and have a crack because Aitken not doing too much damage.
Yeah, just the 5 goals from 6 attempts. Efficient, but just hasn't been able to get the ball. Mentioned the turnovers, just 2 for the Australians up until quarter time. Turnovers they had in the first test was 21, and in the second test it was 17. So
that's a stat that every coach looks at. Possession's so important. You know, when we interviewed Norma, then she said it's just a simple game. You can. It doesn't matter if the ball doesn't come down court cleanly. You just have to maintain possession, and really 2 turnovers in a quarter is just so good.
Let's go courtside with Vicky Wilson. Vic, have there been any changes?
Well, there's been wholesale changes, Kel, as you can imagine. Connie Francis wasn't at all happy. Introduced 3 new players with Griffiths, Gordon and Kelly. So the back line for the Jamaicans is been reshuffled to try and slow up the pace of the Australians, but I think they've got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, they certainly do. So a change of opponent for Sherelle McMahon. Also Medhurst. Bryan's moved into the centre position. Nadine Bryan, the captain on this tour. Their regular captain, Simone Forbes, probably their best player, usually plays in the goal attack position. Didn't make this trip. And Romelda Aitken, much needed goal for her.
Well, the other big name that the Sunshine Girls are missing is Althea Byfield. She had a brilliant season this year for the Mystics in goalkeeper, and you get the feeling that if she was here, she would start to put a stop to the Australians' flow. So if she was able just to do the work on McMahon, things might slow down a little. But the Sunshine Girls have to start putting pressure on well and truly out the front and put the pressure on before the ball gets down anywhere near Sherelle McMahon and Nat Medhurst, because that's what they're doing to them at the moment, opening up all of that space.
They are slicing the defenders to pieces. It's the Diamonds by 19. Looking to extend their lead even further. Sherelle McMahon hits the deck, but bounces back to her feet. Of course, she's had her injury concerns this year. Was managed through the Melbourne Vixens season in the ANZ Championship because of an ongoing and persistent knee injury, and then a left thigh heavily strapped because of a corky that she copped at training. It was her teammate Laura Geitz that gave it to her last week. Seems to be fit so far, though. Oh, a breaking call. Well, you know it's a bad day, Liz, when you get done for breaking as well.
Yeah, those sort of things are coach killers when you're trying to eat into a massive lead like this that the Diamonds have. And
so loose ball, and the Jamaicans are able to pounce.
Feeling a little bit of push and shove has come into this game. Romelda Aitken starting to muscle up on Geitz. Down the other end, Georgia Gordon, well, she wants to give Sherelle McMahon's quad a real good workover.
Well, the Jamaican coach, Connie Francis, has been good enough to join us. Connie, not the start you would have hoped for, but
yes.
How much experience for your young side here today?
A lot. I mean, they're making a lot of heaps of turnovers that we hope that we will be able to correct. You know, we have certainly been working on it, but nothing seems to be working for us. We're trying different combinations to try and find something going for us.
Connie, have you asked your team to be a little more aggressive? It just looks like in this quarter they're really going in a bit harder for the ball.
No, I think I asked them to commit themselves to the job because, I mean, Australia is not kittens, you know. I mean, they are just as physical. They're all over Romelda. They're all over our players. So I don't think that they're being overly aggressive or anything else like that.
No, it's good to see you going hard in for the ball.
Yes.
Just like that.
On cue. Thanks for your time, Connie.
Thank you.
I think they were listening to their coach, Liz, and there is a bit of push and shove and argy-bargy under the post.
Look, and I reckon we're going to see a little bit more of it when you look at... Sometimes, you know, teams do reflect the characteristics of their coach, and Connie Francis as a player was one of the smartest players really to pull on that goal attack bib. Really crafty. You knew you're in for a battle when you played against her. Used her body really smartly. And I think there's a little bit of pride on the line for her. She wants her team to get out and show that they've got some ticker and got some heart. And certainly wouldn't suggest that, you know, there's been some undue tactics from the Jamaicans. I'm really happy that they're getting out there and being aggressive and committing to the ball.
Well, it's Melisha Kelly that's called the timeout. Just getting a little bit of treatment to the face. Might have copped a stray elbow in there, I think, Liz.
There was plenty of them going around, so one of them had to connect somewhere.
And that's really surprised me in the opening few test matches, that there wasn't really too much physical contact at all. But, I mean, it's been applied from either side.
Yeah, and I guess we're used to seeing that in the ANZ Championship. We're used to seeing
biffo.
Lots of, basically, I was going to say physicality and trying to be too polite there. Yeah. But biffo is what we love to see. These women train so hard. You look at their physiques and their bodies. They are so strong. They can cop it and they can give it and they can take it. So I sort of get the feeling that the ANZ Championship, it's such a great competition that if you don't play in it, like a lot of these Jamaican girls don't, when you come and play against the Australians and against the Kiwis, it takes you a little while to get used to that level of physicality. And I just think in the last few minutes of this second term, we're starting to see the Jamaicans come to terms with it and maybe start to give it back a little bit.
And maybe all of a sudden there's nothing to lose as well. And again, we see a lot of pushing and shoving and holding.
Now, the real challenge then, particularly for this Diamonds front line, is to make sure they protect themselves but stay in the game. So be smart about how they use their bodies, use their footwork to make sure they get out of those sort of potentially disastrous situations and don't get caught up in pushing and shoving.
And a good turnover, good intercept from the Jamaicans. They throw it straight back. Callanan, Nurse. Uses Nurse again, McMahon.
Well, McMahon really needs to score here, or Medhurst, just to settle things down a little bit. You just get the feeling that the increased aggression levels has sent both teams into a little bit of a spin in attack. It's made things just a little ratty. So no doubt what the Diamonds want to do is to make sure you score a few, just to take the sting out of the game. At the moment, though, the Jamaicans are being pretty successful in just putting them off their flow.
Here they go with possession. Bringing it down the centre of the court. Nearly another intercept. This is Henry. Goes for the long ball. Looking for Aitken. It's picked off by Gerard.
Yeah, that was
Callanan, Green, Nurse. Good to Green.
Good example then of just how much work hands over that Renee Hallinan's doing. Moni Gerard getting the intercept, and that defensive work is just what's causing these turnovers. Just look at Hallinan doing so much work setting up the intercept.
Vicky Wilson, it's out to 24 goals now.
Well, the Jamaicans are starting to really up the ante in that defensive pressure, but it's still in the attack line that they are struggling. They haven't got that flow. We see them really using that transverse line and relying on their defenders to try and set something up. They just haven't got that clear pathway into Aiken at all.
Now Gerard over to Hallinan. Medhurst sent out the last game in Sydney. Another bullet-like pass. And it was Kelly getting her hands on it. Ball goes to Medhurst. Feeds it to McMahon. For another one. It's 25 goals the margin. Beautiful pass. And Natalie Medhurst is yet to miss. That's 20 from 20 in her 19th appearance, rather, in the green and gold for Australia. Didn't get any court time in Sydney, but played the entire first test at goal attack in Melbourne, Liz. And you mentioned earlier, she's in a real fight to get a spot to India.
She certainly is, and it's not so clear-cut as, you know, she's one of the players going for that goal attack position, and it's really up to what the Australian selectors, who Norma Plummer is one of them, Anne Sargent, Nicole Cusack are the other. So certainly Anne Sargent, Nicole Cusack know a thing or two about the shooting line. Both of them greats for Australia in that regard. So it just depends on what they want to do for the combinations. Do you want tall players, 2 tall players and 2 shorter players? Do you want 3 shorter players and just the 1 tall? And at the moment, this short combination is doing the job for Australia. So it's certainly an option for the selectors.
Well done by Georgia Gordon, the goalkeeper for Jamaica. She picked off that pass and it could result in a goal here for her side, and it does.
Better lead up then for the Sunshine Girls. Really used the ball movement and found much better space to find their way through to Remelda Aiken.
They have stepped up the intensity after a bit of a blast from their coach, Connie Francis, at quarter time. And again, Gordon trying to get involved.
I reckon Gordon's done a good job this quarter. Really done the job that a coach has asked her to.
Georgia Gordon, one of the older members of the side at 35. In fact, the oldest player in the squad. So just trying to show some leadership, going head-to-head with McMahon.
It's the 2 old girls down the back now.
On cue, here they are. Veteran, but she's still got it, Sherelle McMahon. 16 from 18.
That goal didn't count. Nat Medhurst gave away a contact penalty. So an unusual penalty there against a run of play.
So Gordon again trying to set it up from the defensive third. Good take by Kelly. Another turnover though.
And intercept stat, so good. Australians defensively have been great. The defenders are picking up those intercepts. But it is the front line, the attackers, goal shooter, goal attack, centre court, who are putting the pressure on. Just watch Hallinan here. She's a couple of steps away, but look at that speed. Eyes for the ball, comes up with possession.
Speed to burn, Renee Hallinan. Relishes that wing defence position.
Run for distance, pass the shot.
Call against Geitz, and Aitken will never miss from there. Up to 9 goals now. Australia patient on this build-up. Medhurst looking to give it off to Nurse. So the call against Thompson. Well done by the defenders once again.
Contact, centre, holding. At the top. Round.
So here's Bryan, the ball in her hands. The captain, Nadine Bryan, to Griffith.
Contact.
Came on at quarter time.
Pass the shot. Yeah.
And Aitken again. So number 10 for Remelda Aitken.
Running's breaking. Wing defence.
Well, Griffith did a great job in the first test when she came on and started to shoulder some of the shooting load. It just forced Moni Gerard to change her game a little bit. She had to start to look at what she was doing, and it wasn't so easy for her to drift back onto Aiken. So Griffith needs to inject herself, go to the post more, go and find the ball, be a better target.
Yeah, she was 7 from 11 in the first test, Anna Kay Griffith, and started in Sydney. And here they go again, looking to give it off to Griffith.
Jamaica.
Was nearly caught in the front row there by Vicky Wilson. Vic, how are you seeing it so far?
Well, I've been keeping my eye on Kimberly Green. Defensively, she really is closing down that centre corridor, which is making it so difficult for the Jamaicans, particularly on the centre pass. She's working overtime with Helen, and so really shutting down that option. So she's been a big contributor to the Australians' performance.
And Gerard a contributor as well. Hallinan tries to keep it in, and she does. Wonderful balance. Medhurst, McMahon, Green. Nice feed from Medhurst.
Diamonds are in control of this game, but it is so impressive to see them run down balls like this. You know, you watch Moni Gerard got the tip, chased it out of court. There was plenty of backup. Same for Renee Hallinan. So, you know, they're all trying to win this game and win it well, but they're all trying to get themselves selected for the Commonwealth Games. It's producing some good performances.
And it will be in the back of Norma Plummer's mind that this combination really is working well together.
I think it might be in the front of her mind. It's a great start. Jamaicans have just stemmed the flow a little bit in this quarter. I think they've been a lot better defensively. They're starting to pick up the spaces and starting to pick up the ball. A lot of work ahead of them, though.
Dean Bryan now involved.
Defence, obstruction. Penalty, Jamaica.
One of the things, Kel, that Norma Plummer likes to see from her players is the ability to recognise a change in the play and a change in what the opposition does and change your game accordingly. So the Jamaicans have come out with a different defensive style this quarter, and she'll be wanting her players to identify that change and to make their own adjustments. So it will be interesting to see what she's got to say to them at half-time.
Just under 2 minutes remaining in the opening half. It's the Diamonds by 25 goals. Can we expect changes in the second half, do you think, Liz? And what would be the message from Norma at half-time?
Look, I think, looking at the quarter-time score, 23 goals the Diamonds scored in that first quarter. So far, they've scored 16 in the second quarter. So the scoring rate is down. What has happened is much what happened on Wednesday night. The Jamaicans just started to pick up the speed and close down the spaces. Laura Geitz gets one back for her team. So she'll be saying to them, when you're in attack, change the pace. Don't get too caught up in going like a bull at a gate and trying to bring the ball down court. She'll also be asking them to protect themselves and each other. As much as she wants to see plenty of competition and she wants to see the girls going hard, she wouldn't want any of her star players or any of her players to be injured.
And please, Norma, don't take Natalie Medhurst off, because she's 24 from 24 and nearly under the post. Jamaica, the Sunshine Girls, Griffiths goes the long lob to Aitken. Didn't fancy her chances from mid-range.
Backwards, that's it.
Now a little closer to the post. It's a miss. But a let-off, they'll get a second chance here. Just 6 goals in the opening quarter for Jamaica.
That's it.
7 in the second. Still time here. This is Griffith. And a sweet shot. So Jamaica with their 14th on the board. It's still the Diamonds by 26. And the long lob. Oh, well, it's against Geitz.
That's it, goal attack, yes.
Griffith doesn't want to back herself in from there.
Defense, pass or shot.
Clever play there from Moni Gerard, trying to make herself as tall as possible, put her hands up, wriggled them around. Didn't fool Annika Griffith for much longer than a couple of seconds. So sometimes when you give away a little bit in height, Kel, you have to be a little bit smart. And Moni Gerard's doing that really well in this. Welcome back to the Gold Coast Convention and Exhibition Centre. Just about to get underway in the second half. And, well, the Sunshine Girls have got a bit of work to do. They trail Australia 40 goals to 15. It's been a pretty impressive start from the Diamonds, Kel.
Yes, Liz, they've extended their lead at each break. It was 17 at quarter time, now 25. And a lot of praise has to go to the defenders. Kept them to 6 goals in the opening quarter. And then just 9 in the second quarter. Almost unheard of at this level in netball.
Especially when you've got a spearhead like Romelda Aitken. She's a scoring machine in the ANZ Championship, but not so much in this Test series. And the Australians are just doing so much work in defence, hands over all the way down the court. It's just making it not easy for the defenders, but it's certainly making their job easier.
Well, Romelda, open proceedings in the second half, but there have been some changes out there. Vic, what can you tell us?
Well, there's been a number for the Australian team. We see Kate Beveridge coming onto the court for Medhurst. So Medhurst, I think, finishes the game at 100%. And Cheryl McMahon moving back out to her more familiar role at goal attack. And Maddie Brown comes on for Lauren Nurse at the wing. Nicole Aitken has come on for Kelly at the back for Jamaica, and the forward line has stayed the same.
So Madison Brown, just her 7th appearance in the green and gold. Just played 2 of the 8 quarters heading in this afternoon, Liz. Debuted for the Diamonds earlier this year, of course, on that UK tour in February this year, and played her first game on home soil in Sydney on Wednesday night. So some big and nervous and anxious moments for her.
Absolutely. It's just interesting watching, I guess, the selections as they go along, and you know that these are selection tests as much as they are test matches for the Australian team, and you sort of get the feeling that the selectors are really wanting to see different combinations work together. So Lauren Nurse and Maddie Brown will probably both get a half with Kim Green. We saw Kim Green and Maddie Brown get a half at wing attack with the #1 centre in the team, Nat Von Berto, on Wednesday night. And Nat Von Berto, of course, had pretty close to a full game with Lauren Nurse last Sunday. So you can just see, I guess, the machinations of what's going on, who's being paired up with who can do what, the different combinations that are being tested.
You're picking Norma's brain. That's what you're doing. Kate Beveridge, 19 from 19. So 100% when she came on in Sydney on Wednesday night. Would have been pretty happy with that. And here she is lining up Kate Beveridge for her second. But she would have gone away thinking maybe I've got one foot on the plane. Natalie Medhurst comes out and says, well, 24 from 24. How do you like that?
Yeah, give that a go. Look, it's good to see Kate Beveridge sitting back in that goal shooter position. She didn't get the chance to play there very much at all for the Thunderbirds this year, and she does look comfortable there. No surprises that she was quite happy to turn and really drain some long shots and some short shots on Wednesday night. She's got that lovely looping shot. Brings rain, but it brings goals.
If you haven't caught up with the netball news, announced that she's heading to the Melbourne Vixens next year in the ANZ Championship. So that is a big move in the off-season. McMahon, of course, will be teaming with her. So it'll be an interesting combination to watch in this second half, because if you're a Melbourne Vixen fan, you'll be seeing quite a bit of it, you would think, next year.
Well, unless, of course, you're Caitlin Thwaites, and she may have something to say about that. Gives them a couple of good targets down that front line for the Vixens next year.
We're talking about Sherelle. Norma Plummer joins us. Norma, thanks for your time. Sherelle playing her first game for Australia this year. How have you seen her effort so far?
Yeah, as I said, yeah, she's got into the game, and we've just spoken to her about just getting that extra step in and getting off the body if it looks like the ball's coming too slow for her. I think she's just got to just keep the movement coming, and it'll all open up again. Bevo's just got to settle down now.
Norma, Connie Francis said she had, I don't think I'm giving too much away here, she said that she had asked her players at quarter time to really commit to the ball. It looked like they did that. Does that change the way you guys then approach your attacking? Do you try and slow things down a bit or change the pace?
We worked an extra pass through the mid-course because we thought would be better too than starting to put in the long balls. But basically, we needed them to start to commit to the ball because you need that contest.
I was about to ask.
Otherwise, you're just looking at systems, and that's not what we wanted to play against Jamaica.
Yeah, I was going to ask, does that make you happy then? Because then I would imagine then that allows you to look at the players who can make those adjustments and see who you want on the plane to Delhi.
Yeah, well, that's right, and they're the sort of things you're asking for. You know, being able to cope with something different and not, you can't be one-dimensional. You really have to be able to work it all. But I think Bevo's got into this now, so that's nice.
And getting involved again. Norma, it's been a complete demolition so far. How tough are these girls making your job in the next 2 weeks?
Yeah, it is really hard. It really is hard. But, you know, as I keep saying, great position to be in.
Well, all the best. We wish you all the best for the next couple of weeks. Of course, the Australian Commonwealth Games squad to be announced on August 30. As we continue, the Diamonds leading by 25 now. Jamaica into attack. Aiken's just been held to 15 so far.
I reckon we're in a really privileged position, Kel. Normally for selection camps, you don't get to see what goes on in a selection situation. You don't get to find out what's in the coach's mind and the selector's mind. This is the first time things have openly been done like this for the Australian team. It's the first time the coach has come out and said, well, we're taking 15, we've got to get it down to 12. Every single second counts. It's great to be able to, through these interviews and being able to speak to the coaches, to find out what they're thinking of in a selection situation. It's something that's really rare.
And of course, we finish up here today, and then they'll get a week or so off, and then there's the one more test to come 2 weeks today in Adelaide against New Zealand. It'll be the last chance for the squad of 15. And the squad will be announced the very next day on the Monday as Beveridge, well, that just rolls out.
We can imagine the conjecture when that test match gets announced, the last match against New Zealand. You always want to make sure that you beat the Silver Ferns. They are going to be really hell-bent on retaining their gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. So what do you read into that team selection?
Laura Geit's probably the most impressive this afternoon. She's a defender that's come of age, particularly in the last 12 months or so, playing her 9th test cap for Australia today. Just played 4 of the 8 quarters heading in, Liz. Played the entire first test in Melbourne and didn't get on in Sydney, but relishing her time out in the middle today.
Yeah, look, I love the fact that she's playing the one-on-one style of play against Romelda Aiken. She gives away plenty of centimetres in height. But what has been really impressive is the fact that she's prepared to go out and have a go at those long intercepts. And you want to have your goalkeeper terrorising the centre court like that, just so that whenever they drift back and they start to go into the pockets, they've got one thought in their head, which is where on earth is the goalkeeper?
playing your old position, of course. Bianca Chatfield took over the reins, didn't make the cut. And have you had much to do with her? Have you mentored her at all in recent years, or...?
No, not really. She's been able to do it all herself, and I guess I'd like to take some credit for how she's playing, but I can't. Look, I've had a number of chats to Geitzy, but the person who has day-to-day contact with her is Rose Jenke, and she is a former great goalkeeper for Australia. She played for Australia in that 1991 World Championship, came on at half-time in that goalkeeper position, took what is regarded as the winning intercept in that game. So, you know, Geitzy has someone who is a really good mentor up there coaching her on a day-to-day basis with the Firebirds. So it's good to see, and I think she's starting to flourish under that tutelage.
So it's the Diamonds 46, Jamaica 22. And Beveridge, her 4th goal, coming on at half-time. Western Australian. And now Aitken. Interested to see that coach Connie Francis wasn't impressed with Romelda Aitken in that first test. Said she's playing an Australian style, not a Jamaican style.
Yeah, actually, I want to get Vicky Wilson's thoughts on that later in this match, if we can. You know, I think the Australian style of play is pretty good, but I didn't quite understand what she was talking about. And then she clarified it for us on Wednesday night during the test match. She said that she felt that Romelda Aitken was balking on the shot, which is a real Australian sort of thing to do, and Sherelle McMahon does it right on cue, which is good of her to do that. So just interesting, she felt that was a little Australianism that was creeping into her game.
Vicky, what did you make of it? We talk about the New Zealand style, which is, I guess, a lot they employ the zones, the Aussie style, which is one-on-one. What is the Jamaican style that Connie Francis is referring to?
Or having the goal shooter plant firmly in that goal circle. I don't think Connie was pleased that Romelda was electing to come out of the circle so much, and that's something which she started to do, and she's been able to do it quite effectively, but I just don't think in the Jamaican team they're used to her occupying that space outside the goal circle. Mind you, I think she was getting bored. That's why she was coming out. She was out hunting for the ball.
And the ball, the double fake on the shot, what do you make of that? Is that an Australian thing?
Well, I believe it's unnecessary for Romelda to do it, and it is a bit of a habit that she's got herself into, and one that she doesn't need to do. Connie is right. She is lovely and tall at 196 centimetres. No one should be able to get a shot, even if they are at the right distance. Her action is too high, so she just needs to go back and just go and do that straight shot.
Romelda Aitken, 196 centimetres. Liz, I think they mentioned during the week in Adelaide, a new Adelaide 36ers basketballer that was up about 220 centimetres, something like that. So
look out. Hope they don't meet each other. I guess the thing to point out, you know, Connie Francis would love to have Romelda Aitken sitting back in that goal shooter position. That's a luxury you can really only afford if you've got a goal attack who's out doing a heap of work and also being a target. Now, Simone Forbes is that player who will come into this Jamaican team for the Commonwealth Games. At the moment, Vanessa Walker and Anna Kay Griffith aren't quite up to that. Now, they're both young players. Griffith, for mine, is the most promising of the two. She's got to get out and really become a target and show that not only can she shoot goals, but she's also got to do a lot more work out the front of Aitken and allow Romelda Aitken just to plant in the circle.
So the margin is 26, 27. Beveridge didn't miss in Sydney on Wednesday night, but 6 from 10 so far. The Jamaicans, it must be said, have done pretty well in this quarter.
Oh, they certainly have. You are a jinx, aren't you, Kelly? Every time you talk about something happens. Well, they have. And I think, you know, I hate to harp on about it, but I think for the Jamaicans, their good play has come from just tightening up their defensive structures, and that puts pressure on the Australians. It creates turnovers, but it also then allows them to get the opportunity to get into attack more. If you have the ball in your hand more, you're going to go better.
Beveridge having no luck on the shot. We spoke to Nat Von Berto in the pre-match. Of course, she is the favoured starting centre, but been rested this afternoon. Kim Green has taken her spot. You would have probably played with Kim Green. New South Wales Swift side, playing her 19th game for Australia this afternoon. She's actually played in both tests so far, and would they take her as the backup centre, would you envisage?
Look, I think that's a logical choice, but you can't forget that Lauren Nurse plays centre for the Firebirds, and her defensive game is something that has really improved over the years. So she's, you know, she can play in that position. I just think with Kim Green, though, as the backup centre, for want of a better word, she gives you just that athleticism and the explosive power, and something that Kim has worked really hard on over the last couple of years, as well as her fitness, is just making sure she doesn't allow her speed to make her be carried away on the delivery of the ball. And she used to be guilty of a lot of turnovers. She's played centre all game and she's had just the one turnover. Now that's efficient. The amount of time she's handling the ball, she's having a great game today, and she's doing her selection chances no harm.
Well, she'd love to go. Her mum, Denise Langford, won 4 gold medals at the Com Games, so there's a lovely family link there. Dad Michael was a pretty handy rugby league player as well, playing for South Sydney. And is she a better wing attack or a better centre, do you think?
Oh, look, I think she's a better centre because you just get that great explosiveness, and she's got the fitness now to keep that explosiveness for the whole game. So I love her at centre. I do think, though, she's a really handy wing attack. And what she does well at wing attack is defend. You know, she gets unexpected intercepts, and that's a really good asset to have, as well as doing your first job of delivering the ball. Be tough, though, if your mum had won more gold medals than you would. You win your first gold medal, your mum goes, that's good, but get 3 more before you come and sit at my table.
And it's tough in netball. She'd have to play till she was about 50, wouldn't she?
Oh, well, Robert Mann and Kath Cox are on the way.
Oh, I was going to make a reference to you, but anyway. So, Aiken again, lifted in this third quarter. Again, the Jenksleys. 18 from 25 is her return to date. Hallinan flying down through the mid-court. Brown, Beveridge, both came on at 3/4 time. And McMahon really starting to settle in now. No doubt loving being back in the green and gold after an injury-riddled season.
Yeah.
Beveridge, that high shot makes it 25 goals the difference, and it was 25 at half-time, so the third quarter is all levelled up, all tied up.
You can put that down to the fact that neither team has scored a lot, so we've seen a few errors just creep in to both teams this quarter, and some goal misses, which we haven't really seen through the game.
Rare fumble from McMahon. Yeah, the Aussies restricted to just the 12 in this quarter. They scored 23 in the opening quarter. Still time for a last one.
That really has more to do with the Jamaicans catching up with the speed of the Diamonds rather than the Diamonds dropping off. The intensity is still there. A couple of times they've almost allowed their speed, or got a little bit ahead of themselves with their speed. They need to just slow that down a little bit. But you've got to give credit to the Jamaicans. They're the ones who have changed their defensive style. They've forced the errors, and they've had a really good third quarter. And we just saw the turnover stat highlighted then. Jamaicans coughing up the ball plenty of times for the Australians. So impressive. They've just, their ball control today and their possession work has been just outstanding.
There've been a few changes. We'll get down to Vicky very shortly. This is Susan Prattley putting through the opening goal in the opening 20 seconds. Playing her 40th game in the green and gold. Shot 36 from 43 at 84% in the second test. And was named player of that second test. And let's get down to Vic. A couple of changes.
Well, Jamaican coach, as you can imagine, Connie Francis, was very happy with that third quarter's performance, and so she's made no changes. But for the Australian team, an opportunity for 3 more players to get out on court and show Coach Norma Plummer what they can do. Susan Furman and Amy Steele have come on in the circle, and that means Monia Gerard has moved to wing defence, and Susan Prattley has subbed for Australian captain Sherelle McMahon.
So McMahon with just the 3 quarters. And she finishes with a pretty good result in the end, Liz.
She certainly does, and I guess the most important result is that she's come through. She's performed well. She's shown that her body's up to it, and she's been able to come off the court knowing that she shot 21 from 25 in 3 quarters and done the work.
So the Diamonds by 27. They'll be looking to put their foot on the pedal in this last quarter.
Holding, goalkeeper. Running past the shot.
Tough for the players who have just come on. So Prattley, Steele and Furman. It's really hard when you're watching a game to stop yourself just from becoming a spectator, and they've seen their teammates put out an impressive performance. to have to then snap out of just watching it and enjoying the match just like the rest of us, they've got to now get into the game and show Norma Plummer that they can actually come on. So this is something that she'll be looking at. She'll be seeing if she can bring players on, how well they get into the game, whether they take their time, whether they're the sort of players that can be subbed on to make an impact.
Furman gets a hand in. Well done. It results in another turnover. Brown, Prattley, Brown looking for Beveridge, goes instead the longer option to Prattley. And it's now a 30-goal margin, the biggest lead of the afternoon. And that goal all resulted because of Susan Furman's deflection. Prattley again. 5 from 5. We've only been playing a few minutes here. In 2 minutes and 45 seconds, Liz.
And she looks confident at goal. There's no balking. She's just turning to the post and letting the ball go.
And Furman again. Gee, she's got a really good record against Aiken, hasn't she? She matched up in the last 2 tests against her. And certainly impressive in the opening couple of minutes after coming on at three-quarter time. Here she is, West Coast Fever defender.
Jamaica injury.
She'll enjoy the amount of protection she gets from out the front of her. Kim Green and now Monia Gerard in that wing defence position will have their hands up, looking to disrupt the flow. You know, I talked earlier in the game about just the changes that have been made through the centre court and what the selectors are going to be looking at. Monia Gerard now moving into that wing defence position. She's the third diamond to be trialled in that position. So there's Bully, there's Gerard, and there's Hallinan for the one spot.
Connie Francis, the coach of Jamaica, has been good enough to join us again. Connie, you mentioned in your last cross the Aussies aren't kittens, and I guess since you told your players that, they've really stepped up the intensity since half-time.
Yes, we did a fantastic job in the third quarter. I thought that we contested with them, you know. That quarter was 12-all. It's a plus for us because since we have been blown out in the other quarters, now we had a third start in the last quarter. We need to just put back whatever we were doing in the first, in the third quarter and get it going. I think we're too hesitant.
Connie, it seems like your girls are really able to match it with the Diamonds at different stages of the game. What they're lacking is consistency. What do you do about that?
All these girls are preparing for the COM games, right? And if they want to hold their place, they have to step it up, right? Because we have 7 back home who will be coming in also and trying out for the Commonwealth team. So it's about our girls executing the game plan. I think that sometimes we're not doing it, but it's hard work. I mean, some of these girls are new to Australia, to Australia's soil and style. So it's all about them to go out there and try and support each other.
Terrific, Connie. Thanks for the insight. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And it was the captain, Nadine Bryan, that called the injury timeout. A little bit of a tension. Still limping out there, but leaps at this ball and appears to be okay to play on. To Griffith, the youngster. And another goal for her. So Jamaica up to 28. Diamonds up to 59. Another good defensive effort by Aiken. Griffith has shot 9 from 11, so one of the younger members of the Jamaican side. Romelda has 18 from 25. The most on court's Nat Medhurst, 24 from 24, and she's sitting on the bench at the moment. Only played the opening half. Ryan to Griffith. And the call against Gerard. Just the 5 players from the Australian squad of 15 that were involved in the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne back in 2006. Liz, of course, you were injured. Monia Gerard was injured. Eloise Southby retired right on the eve of the Commonwealth Games with an ankle injury. So it leaves Sherelle and Kath Cox, Nat Von Berto, Susan Prattley, and there's one more, Susan Furman. There you go.
Yeah, look, that was a team that had come off an absolute flogging to the Silver Ferns in October the previous year. So they had about 5 months to turn it around, and they did a pretty good job. So the Silver Ferns beat them, I think, by about 26 goals in that test match. And They worked so hard and they turned around. They only lost that gold medal final by 6 goals, so did a great job. Not quite enough, and those players have been hurt by winning that silver medal 4 years ago. Will desperately love to A, get themselves on the plane, and B, avenge that loss in that final. Got a bit to go though before they get there. They've got a series against the Silver Ferns later on this month, and selections to get through first as well.
Yeah, and one game against New Zealand, as we see, great intercept by Green. Fires the long pass over to Beveridge. Now Brown, Prattley. Brown, the bounce pass. And Prattley, the balk, the fake, the goal. And so one of those games, as we mentioned, in Adelaide in 2 weeks against New Zealand, and then the Aussie team will travel to New Zealand and play the Kiwis twice. If you can eliminate all bias, if that's possible, who would go in the favourite if it was a gold medal playoff in India?
Right now?
Yep.
That's tough. You know, you've got to look at the ANZ Championship to get a good gauge of who's looking good. That is skewed by the fact that, you know, the Thunderbirds, who were so good, their best player on court in that final was an English player, Jiva Mentor. So, you know, it's not a given that that's going to be a final to start off with. I reckon the Australians would go in as favourites, but only just. The Silver Ferns are looking pretty good when you look at the performance of that Magic team through the course of the year. Add a couple of players who were in some of the other teams, and they're starting to look good, and just being the incumbents helps as well.
It's a very diplomatic answer, Liz.
I know, it's unlike me.
Beveridge from long range, backed herself in. It came off the ring, and now the Jamaicans are away.
Just amazing when the netball gods smile on you. Kate Beveridge shot 19 from 19 in a half of netball on Wednesday night. Today she's sitting at 9 from 16, and that can be something just as simple as rhythm.
I think Vicky Wilson might have picked out a special guest in the crowd somewhere. Vicky.
Well, I've got Queensland Firebird captain Lauren Nurse. Now, Lauren, that first quarter was absolutely superb. The pace was incredible.
Yeah, it certainly was. We were, you know, obviously having Cheryl come back into the line. It was a quick moving forward line and really enjoyed it.
Now, you get to play with a number of different players in this series. You played with Kim Green then, you've had a go with Nat Von Berde. Is there any difference with playing with the different players?
You know, everybody has their different strengths, but it's just awesome, obviously, to be part of such a great team. And, you know, being 15 of us is tough, but anytime you get out on court, you just want to do your best, regardless of who that's with, and build combinations. And I think everybody's done a really good job of that.
Yeah, they have. Thanks for your time, Lauren.
Thanks for that, Vicky. Laura Nurse joining us from the sidelines. So we should make mention as well. Thoughts go out to Julie Coletto. Liz, I caught up with her last week as she had surgery in Melbourne on that ongoing knee injury, and she's going to be sidelined for 6 months. So hopeful of a return at the start of the ANZ Championship next year, but it was her 3rd operation on the same knee within 12 months. So a tough one for her. She's probably sitting back. I'm not too sure if she'd still be in the hospital bed, but sitting back watching and knowing that she won't be part of the squad that goes to India.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing. You know, she's had a pretty good career. You know, she's won a World Championship with Australia, was on court when that final whistle went, which is always a really good thing, and you would have expected that she would have been almost a walk-up start to this team, but smart move to get herself right, have the operation, get her knees right, because she's got a long career ahead of her. She's a fine athlete, and we're thinking of you, Jules.
Just 23 years of age, so as you mentioned, Sherelle's out here, just turned 33, so she's got a long way to go. And the Diamonds now by 31 into attack. Prattley. Quick hands. And tell you what, our courtside reporter's got pretty quick hands as well. Vicky Wilson.
Well, I'm here with one of the special players, Renee Helen, and the reason you're so special, Renee, you're one of the few who have been able to play in all 3 games. So you must be feeling really good with your form at the moment.
Yeah, look, I think I'm personally, pretty happy with how I've been going. I think I've built in each and every game, but the competition's just so tough in this Australian team at the moment. Everyone really is putting their best foot forward.
Well, you certainly did. The one thing that's impressed me tonight with your game is that you really came out and you had a good go at the contest rather than in that first one, a little bit more inclined to sit behind.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the direction that Plum gave me at the start of the game, to really hunt a little bit more and have a go out the front at those balls, but really work on that one-on-one game. So, yeah, I've built on every game, and good to get a few intercepts today.
The other thing that was really quite noticeable today was that blistering pace the Australians started with, and in particular how much the back line injected yourself in bringing that ball down court.
Yeah, and that's something we've also concentrated on as well, that short, sharp game and really bring it down as easy as we can to the attackers.
Now, what's impressed you with the Jamaicans?
Look, they're just so athletic and there's never any ball that they don't go for. They put their bodies on the line each and every time and never give up, which is a fantastic thing.
That was the great thing. Their third quarter in particular was very impressive. Thanks so much, Renee, and fingers crossed for the Commonwealth Games selection.
Thanks, Vic.
Thanks to Vicky and Renee, playing her 16th game for Australia this afternoon. Played the entire first test at wing defence and then half of the Sydney test also at wing defence. And you would have to say almost a certainty to head to India. She was Liz Australia's International Player of the Year in her debut season, her rookie season last year.
So impressive when you can do that as a young kid coming in. And she's kept that form going. A little bit patchy at times with the Vixens this year, but that probably summed up their season more than, excuse me, anything else. She's having a great series, though, this time around. And it's interesting that she mentioned there just a change in her approach from the first test now through to this third test. And it's great that she's been given the instruction from Plum to really have a go at things, see how many intercepts you can get your hands on. And when you look down the Australian stats sheet, so many of the players on court have intercepts to their names.
And, oh, nearly won by Amy Steele then. Coming on just her second game for Australia, the youngster at goal defence. An interesting combination, Furman and Steele. Probably haven't played too much netball together.
Very little. And amazing they've been given the opportunity at this level just to fine-tune their games.
And what about Beveridge and Prattley, the combination down the other end? Would they have played too much together?
Yeah, they've played a little bit together. A couple of years ago, Kath Cox and Cheryl McMahon were both out injured and they both stepped up and did a really great job. Went to New Zealand, won a test series for Australia over there. So just impressive. It's great to see young players come through, and sometimes you're forced to sit on the sidelines and watch the more senior girls go around, and sometimes you get the opportunity to step it up, and they both took the opportunity then, and they've both been regulars in the Australian team since.
A goal for Griffith, 16 from 18, so she's certainly played her role since coming on, started on the bench. So too has Prattley, 12 from 12.
She just looks so determined at the moment, doesn't she, Susan Prattley? Before the game on Wednesday night, I was watching her in the anthems, and she just looked so nervous. She told me later she was simply focused, and perhaps I have to believe her because she just had a brilliant game. And today she's the same. She's got her eyes to the post. She's getting out and having a good go defensively. She wants to go to Delhi.
There's 5 shooters in the squad of 15. Is it as simple as one has to go?
Well, it is as simple as one has to go. The hard thing is which one.
So it's Beveridge and Prattley who are seeing at the moment. Kath Cox, who's been rested today. Cheryl McMahon and Adelaide Medhurst, who played the first half. Neither of them are missing. None of them, I should say.
No, I really don't want to pick. And I reckon at the start of this series, I found it quite easy to have in my head who I thought the 12 were going to be, who I thought deserved to be there. That's all changed. Watching over 3 games, every single player has had made a red-hot go of it. So, I think these 3 games have actually served to make it more difficult rather than make selection easier.
So you have definitely changed your opinion from the end of the ANZ Championship to now.
Yep. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I won't put, I know. Sit on the fence for something different. But anyway, the Aussies. One last roll of the dice. Brown bounce past Prattley. Thank you very much. 13 from 13. And the Jamaicans, well, they're on the Gold Coast. They've been enjoying the sunshine. I think it was 31 in Kingston, Jamaica today. It just gets worse for them. They've lost this series and then they head to chilly New Zealand for a couple of games. Still time here. Green, Prattley, Green. Long ball, Beveridge over the top. Brown, deflection. Madison Brown, Victorian. Prattley, here she goes for 14 from 14. Thank you very much. And the Australian Diamonds clinch a series clean sweep against the Jamaica.